Brother-in-law and his girlfriend moved into our home, ignored promises to leave, and now my marriage is falling apart. About a year ago, me, 28F, and my husband, 30 male, allowed my brother-in-law, Bill, 19 male, to move in with us to get him out of a rough situation and help him start adulting. This was about May of last year. I agreed to have him move in with the promise from Bill and husband that it was only going to be a couple of months until Bill found a roommate to move out with. He is also to pay some rent monthly as he has a full-time job now, keep his area clean, and help out around the house. Keep in mind I have 2 children under the age of 5 and also work, and I'm still the housekeeper. Cleaning, cooking food, etc., while my husband also works about 60 hours a week. Fast forward those couple of months, no luck on finding a roommate. Bill's still living with us. Okay, he's young. I'm just gonna give him some more time to figure this out. I'm trying to be understanding and gracious, as I also had some help getting on my feet at this age. I have confronted Bill a few times asking, so how is the roommate search going? You found an apartment yet? Only to be answered with shrugs and I don't know. I will say, at this point I'm starting to feel in the dark with what is actually going on. As in, is there even a plan of him moving out? Is he even looking for a roommate or an apartment? Husband says just give him more time and that, he's working on it. Frustrated, it's Christmas time now and he's requesting to have his girlfriend of 2 years, who lives out of state, to move in too with the promise that she has a job and they will move out in 1 month. I tell my husband that I'm not comfortable with it, as Bill was not supposed to be here at this time in the first place. Husband says I'm overreacting and starts making comments of making me sound like I don't care about his family. Angry, I just shut down and keep my mouth shut to avoid the argument, my next mistake. Girlfriend moves in and surprise, doesn't have a job and claims she's been looking for one for 3 months now since living under my roof. Fast forward to now. Rent is not being paid anymore, the cleaning of their own areas have stopped, and there has been absolutely no trying to find a way to move out of my home. I've quit asking Bill questions to keep myself from being furious and directed the questions towards my husband. At this point I'm done trusting that my husband has any plan or control in this whole situation, which is driving me insane. Anytime I bring it up to my husband, I'm met with hostility and accusations of just wanting to throw his family out on the street and that I shouldn't be upset with this because I agreed to it. Agreed to what? Yes, I agreed to Bill moving in for a couple of months. Yes, I graciously gave him extra time to figure things out. At this point I no longer feel comfortable in my own home and every day me and my husband argue about it, which always turn into very ugly outcomes. We don't even sleep in the same bed anymore. I'm annoyed that I've been conned into taking on 2 grown adults, while trying to raise my own family. I'm angry that I'm being made out to be the bad guy when all I wanted was to be helpful. Update 1. Brother-in-law, Bill, 19 male, and his girlfriend has overstayed their welcome in my, 28F, and my husband's, 30M, home. 10+ months for the Bill and 3+ months for the GF. I was conned into the whole situation when both husband and Bill said it would only be for a couple months, which was last May. Rent has stopped being paid, cleaning of their own areas stopped and there has been no attempt of them to leave my home. I'm uncomfortable in my own home and my husband absolutely blows up at me anytime I bring it up, and accuses me of hating his family and wanting to throw them out on the street. Ada? I will say, some of the responses gave me a good little laugh in this extremely frustrating situation, so thank you for that too. Taking everything into consideration, I gave my husband an ultimatum last night and I'm sticking to it. They need to be gone by June 1st, with all rent paid according to how I had laid it out, or else I'm moving out with the kids into an apartment. I'm also not cooking for them, just enough for me and the kids. All laundry detergents and toiletries will be kept in my closet, and internet passwords will be changed. Now, before I get 2 months is too much time for them, hear me out. This is also time for me to get my ducks in a row should I actually be moving out, which, in theory, I'll know by mid-May if they aren't moving out if they don't have anything lined up by then. I really do doubt my husband is wanting this to actually happen, me and the kids moving out, but I wouldn't put it past him thinking that I'm bluffing. Update 2. So here we are, getting really close to June 1st and yes, they are still living in my house. Here's where things are getting gray for me and need all the advice possible. I recently got diagnosed with stage 2 hypertension and working on getting that under control. I have chronic anxiety and experience rolling panic attacks that last for up to a week, sometimes twice a year. Since my last post I had a 4-day episode, as well as the diagnosis. Doc says I'm far too young to have a diastolic pressure chilling at 97 and will be dead in 15 years if I don't make changes now. Since then, I have been stepping back and focusing on me. Getting healthy, losing weight, etc. With that said, my husband has been a lot nicer to me in helping out around the house so I can focus on myself and my kids. The constant shouting has basically stopped, the gaslighting is non-existent, and for once I actually feel confident about my future. Since the diagnosis the energy in my house has completely changed, and what I feel may be for the better. Bill's girlfriend has gotten a full-time job at the end of last month and to my surprise, has been sticking to it. Also, rent has been paid since me laying down the law back in March. They have picked up the cleaning routine, buy their own groceries, and actually seem to be doing well for themselves. Shoot, the GF has even been helping me out with the kids if I seem too stressed. They are actively looking at apartments and attempting to move out. But It's looking like they are wanting to push out the June 1st deadline. Would I be showing myself as a doormat if I let them have a couple more weeks? Or is it my obligation to follow through with the deadline I gave in the beginning? I have a feeling my husband did have a lot to do with them getting their sh/t together, which I'm grateful for. Kinda sucks that I have to risk a stroke in order to get through to him though. That's another topic for a different day, I think. Update 3. They are out. Moved out about a month ago. Life as I know it is getting back to normal again. My husband got the message with the divorce papers. We have since been having way more open communication, and I have decided to hold off proceeding with divorce ATM to see if there is anything worth saving in this relationship. I have since had some more health issues come up that I am going through a couple of procedures for next week, and that has been my main focus for the last couple of weeks, hence the no reply for a while. I appreciate all the support and advice from everyone. I am taking every day still here on this earth as a blessing. Especially now that I have peace in my home and can sit back and breathe. I have also had the conversation with my husband about if he actually cares enough about me to stay with me through my procedures/possible diagnosis, because I do not want to live what could be my possible last days with someone who isn't there physically, emotionally and mentally. He has taken off work next week to take care of me throughout it all, and I'm just going to go from there. Update 4. I had my procedures. I was terrified and trying to act like I wasn't, and my husband actually showed up the way I needed him to. He sat in the pre-op bay and held my hand. He made stupid dad jokes to keep me from spiraling. When I woke up he was there, puffy-eyed and whispering that everything went fine. Turns out there was an actual reason my blood pressure was trying to put me in the ground. A tiny, very obnoxious little growth that didn't belong was doing all kinds of hormonal gymnastics and making my numbers stay in the danger zone. They got it out. I've got a few little incisions and the weirdest bruises I've ever seen, but I'm home. I'm healing. My blood pressure is already chilling in numbers that don't make nurses frown. The rolling panic settled. I forgot what it feels like to sleep and not wake up at 3 a.m. hearing my pulse in my ears. I remembered. It's quiet again. He took that whole week off and actually took it off. He did school drop-offs and ate dinosaur nuggets with the kids and figured out my ridiculous color-coded laundry system without being asked. He didn't make me feel like a burden. He tucked me in and set alarms for my meds. I am not naive. I know a good week doesn't erase 10 months of being made the bad guy in my own home. But a good week matters. And then, because the universe likes to test you the second you think you're safe, the first boundary check slammed into us. 3 days after I got home, our AC clunked in the Bill's apartment complex, and apparently that was the sign from God that he should crash here just for a few nights. Not a call, not a heads up, just a text to my husband saying on my way. My husband read it out loud. We were in the kitchen. I was holding a bowl of soup. I didn't say anything. I just looked at him. He looked at me. You could feel the old wiring in him itching to fix it the easiest way, which is to let other people take up space in my body and my house and call it family. He put his phone down. He said, no. He actually said no. Called his brother and told him he'd pick up a portable AC unit and drop it off, and if that didn't cut it he'd put him in a motel for 2 nights because his wife is recovering from surgery and our home is not a halfway house. I heard his exact words. He said them twice because Bill did the whole incredulous you can't be serious routine. Phone hung up. My soup was cold by then and I didn't care, I was crying into it anyway. He left and came back with the window unit. Drama averted. I didn't have to turn into the dragon just to protect my bed. If the AC situation was a pop quiz, what happened a week later was the final exam. It was almost midnight and we were actually asleep for once when the banging started. Full-on pounding on the front door and my heart launched into my throat so hard I tasted metal. I knew before I heard his voice. Bill on the porch with 2 duffel bags, a trash bag of clothes, flushed and angry and already halfway through his speech about how his girlfriend was crazy and he just needed the couch tonight and it's not a big deal. My kids were asleep. I could see them in my head, crying on the stairs like they did back when the shouting was our nightly soundtrack. I stayed in the hallway. I didn't even put a robe on, I just folded my arms and leaned against the wall and waited to see what my husband would do. He didn't even open the storm door. He told his brother he loved him and he wasn't coming in. He told him he'd call him a ride to their aunt's house or a room somewhere for the night, but the couch was off limits and if he kept banging he was going to wake the kids and then we'd be done for a lot longer than one night. Bill called him every name a 19-year-old who's never been told no can think of. He pounded a few more times and then slumped down on the porch like he was going to outstubborn us. My husband stayed calm. He didn't look at me for reassurance. He didn't pass me the decision like a hot potato. He made the call and stood in it. 10 minutes later an Uber was in the driveway and the porch was quiet. I shook for a good half hour after he locked the door. He wrapped an arm around me and whispered, "I'm not doing that to us again." Mill tried, of course. Next morning she called to inform us we were heartless and that family is supposed to be there. He told her we were there. He told her he was there, with money and rides and advice and everything except the thing that nearly killed me. He said those words, it nearly killed her. He said it like a person who had finally connected cause and effect. She went quiet. She has not darkened my doorstep since. That silence is better than flowers. Somewhere in the middle of all this, we sat on the edge of the bed like teenagers and had the ugliest, barest conversation we've had in our whole relationship. He admitted that it was easier to make me the villain than to disappoint his family. He said he thought if he just kept putting out the little fires, he could avoid the big one that was going to explode the second he told them no. He said he was ashamed that it took court stationery in an envelope to pull his head out. I told him that my forgiveness isn't a switch and that I don't owe him a timeline. I told him I still have a folder with apartments bookmarked and I will not hesitate if I feel that slippage again. He didn't flinch. He said he understood. He made the call to a therapist for himself. He set up couples counseling and didn't roll his eyes when I pushed for the soonest slot. We've been twice. He listens. He doesn't argue like a defense attorney anymore. He asks, "What do you need from me?" And then he does it without keeping score. It is both wild and very, very normal, which is what I want. The house changed, too. I reclaimed the space. The room that used to hold a grown man's sneakers now has a small desk and plants and a lamp I'm inappropriately in love with. The kids drag their beanbags in there and call it Mom's quiet room, which is hilarious because they are never quiet, but it feels like we shook the ghosts out. We changed the locks. We found the spare key that had gone on vacation apparently, and it's in a drawer where I can see it and not feel insane wondering who has access to my life. My pantry looks like mine again. There's no mystery cereal eating up my grocery budget. My laundry baskets are full of only my family's socks and not somebody else's dirty work shirts. I didn't know how much of my brain was trapped by tiny invasions until they were gone. Health-wise, I'm in a different universe. The numbers are boring and that is the highest compliment I can give them. I walk around the block and don't feel like my chest is a fist. I eat actual meals and don't choke them down between adrenaline spikes. I'm not perfect. My body's been through it. I get tired fast and I cry over the dumbest commercials. But the baseline is peace. Bill is up and down, as 19-year-olds set loose on the world tend to be. He and his girlfriend are doing the messy dance of young love and shared bills and sudden adult consequences. He's not my project. That sentence used to make me feel mean. Now it feels like oxygen. When he calls, my husband takes it outside. When there's a crisis, my husband problem solves with him and then comes home and doesn't drag the debris through our door. One night, I watched him end a call with, "I can help you figure out a plan, but I can't give you a bed." He didn't even look to see if I heard. He just said it because it's true now. I'm not putting a bow on this. There isn't one. We are in the very unsexy middle where you decide every day whether you're building something or burning it down. I don't have that heavy, permanent dread anymore. I don't stand in my own kitchen and feel like an intruder. He shows up. I show up. We tuck our kids into bed in the same room again. We actually laughed last night about something stupid the older one said, the kind of snort laugh you can't fake, and I had that thought that I've missed for months. "Oh, there you are." I didn't realize how much I missed us until we started to come back in bits and pieces. But I also have paperwork in a drawer and appointments I keep and a promise to myself that is louder than any vow I said in a dress. If he forgets, I don't explain. I pack the kids and go. For now, he remembers. For now, my house is my house, my body is my own, and my heart rate behaves. That's what I've got. That's enough. Update 5. I thought the tests were over. Apparently the universe runs on rolling admissions. It started with a sonogram picture in the family group chat. Black and white sunflower seed, the caption "Our little bean," a flood of heart emojis from aunts I haven't heard from in a decade. I was standing in the produce aisle with a cantaloupe in one hand, the air conditioning blasting cold enough to make my stitches ache even though they're old news now. My husband's phone buzzed against my palm because I had tossed it in my tote after the kids took turns googling dinosaurs on the way there. He looked down, then up at me, and I watched the exact math he does now happen on his face. He didn't flinch. He sent back "Congratulations. Let us know what you need help planning." Nothing else. Not "Do you want to come here?" Not "We have space." I was proud of him in the middle of the melons. Of course, the next text came directly to him, not the group. "You can probably write it with me. We should move in for a few months to save. Baby on the way. Family is supposed to be there." He didn't answer right away. He handed me the cantaloupe like it was a baton and said, very quietly, "I'm not doing the old thing." Then he typed, "We are here for you. We are not your landlords. I'll help you budget. I will not co-sign. You cannot move in." He added a period after each sentence like a fence post. Silence on the other end that lasted just long enough to make my nervous system start its old warm-up. Then, wow. Then, "Can we at least store things in your garage?" We don't have a garage. We have a one-car rectangle that barely fits our one car and a bike with a unicorn horn my 5-year-old insists is a horse. It made me laugh out loud in the middle of the cantaloupes and something unknotted under my collarbone. He wrote, "No storage. We'll buy you a unit for 2 months and help you find a used crib. That's what we can do. Send." There's freedom on the other side of clarity. It's not pretty. But it's clean. They did not like clean. 2 days later a truck I recognized from holidays, our uncle with a loud laugh, backed into our driveway unannounced, tailgate down, the bed a Tetris of baby stuff that looked not new but new to them. I recognized half of it. I had almost these exact items once. My uterus did a weird sympathetic zing that I chose to ignore. Mill was on the passenger side like a queen on a float, already bracing to be offended. Bill hopped out, eyes anywhere but mine, and headed straight for the side door like he had a key. He doesn't. We changed the locks. It still felt biblical. I didn't go outside. I stood in the front hall and watched through the window. My husband went out, shoulders down, voice calm, the way he talks to the kids when they've loaded Play-Doh into the sink. He said, "Nope. Take it back. I told you on the phone." He got the hands on hips, the tears that come when people aren't getting their way and call it heartbreak. Mill launched into the speech about community and sacrifice and what I owe as a mother. He said, "She almost died. We're not doing this." That sentence is a skeleton key. It opens doors. It locks others. Uncle Loud Laugh looked at the two of them, then at me in the window, and did the tiny shrug of a man who knows a wife when he sees one and doesn't want to be involved. He put the truck in drive without shutting the tailgate, and Mill had to jump to catch a car seat before it slid into the street. It would have been slapstick if it hadn't made my palms sweat. They drove to a storage place across town. He sent the month's rent from his bank app and texted Bill the gate code. He came back with none of it in our house. He took his shoes off at the door and blew out a breath, and I didn't realize I had been holding mine, until it whooshed out, too. We didn't talk. He just put his forehead to mine like people do in movies when they're about to kiss or cry, and then the baby woke up from her nap and yelled about a spider and life kept moving. We had our third couples session that afternoon. He told our therapist about the truck like he was reporting from the field. No theatrics. Just facts, and then the route he's been pulling up inch by inch. I was scared of being the bad guy. I'm done outsourcing the job to my wife. He looked at me when he said it. He didn't need me to nod. He brought in his own homework this time, questions he had written about patterns in his family. That's a sentence I've waited 6 years to write. He's not performing. He's curious. The difference is everything. Bill called later, softer than I've ever heard him. He didn't apologize for the midnight banging from a while back, he apologized for putting me in that position. That is not the same thing, and it also is. I told him, "Thank you." I told him we're happy to be aunt and uncle and not roommates. He asked me how I made rice that doesn't turn into paste. I gave him my exact ratio and he wrote it down. It is a very odd thing to be handing off a life skill in one breath and in the next tell someone you will never share a roof. It also felt like the least dramatic kind of love. There was a smaller thing that felt bigger than it should have. Mill dropped off a bag of baby clothes without letting us know. She left it on the porch like a guilt grenade. My oldest found it when we got home from the park and started pulling out onesies with tiny foxes like it was Christmas. To her, clothes are clothes and babies are miracles, and Nana loves us. I once would have picked that bag up and smuggled it inside to keep the peace and the magic for my kid. Instead, I said, "Those are for your cousin. We're going to take them to her new house." My daughter asked the question she always asks now, my favorite and least favorite thing: "Do we live with cousin?" I said, "No, we live with us." She nodded like that was the most normal thing in the world and went back to arguing with her brother about who gets to carry the bag. We drove it over. I didn't get out. I waved at the girlfriend. She waved back. The dog barked. The world didn't end. Somewhere during all of this, my body remembered itself in a way that felt like a miracle and not the kind you have to earn. The follow-up with my surgeon was gloriously boring. The scan showed nothing sinister. My numbers stayed where they should be while the tailgate drama happened, and through a loud family dinner where one aunt asked if I'd found Jesus or just boundaries. I snorted iced tea into my sinuses. If that's not healing, I don't know what is. I still get the flutters. I still wake up sometimes at 2:43 a.m. convinced I left a stove on I don't even own. But I don't sit on the bathroom floor anymore counting my pulse. I go into my room, turn on the lamp I'm inappropriately in love with, water the plants my kids named, and breathe like a person who trusts her own lungs. We took a cheap one-night escape to a motel one town over because my sister sent me a $100 Visa gift card and a text that said, "Use this frivolously or I will haunt you." We ate gas station snacks in a bed that wasn't ours and watched a documentary about a chef who ferments everything, even cherries. He fell asleep with a Twizzler in his hand, which will be funny for the next decade, and I took a picture I won't show anyone because it is mine. In the morning we drank terrible coffee and drove home, and I didn't feel that old dread when we turned onto our street. I felt like going home. He did something else that used to be unthinkable. He called the phone company and took Bill off our family plan. I didn't even know we were still quietly paying for that line because of some promotion from forever ago. He came into the kitchen with the bill and a look on his face that was half sheepish, half determined, and said, "I'm done being useful in ways that hurt us." He texted Bill, "Your line ends in 30 days. I'll help you set up your own account." This is not punishment. This is adulthood. It's not sexy. None of this is, but when the auto pays stop, your house gets audible space in it you didn't realize was being siphoned. There was a storm last week that took out the power on our street around dinner. The house went black and the kids squealed because it's always an adventure for exactly 3 minutes until they're bored. The older couple across the way knocked on our door with a cooler full of medication they couldn't keep cool without a fridge. I put our hand on the handle and felt that old reflex. It used to make me panic that if I let anyone in, it would be forever. This felt simple. "Of course," I said, and I meant it. We had dinner by flashlight, cheese and apples and crackers on a cutting board, and played Go Fish until we were sick of it. Bill called my husband in the middle to say his complex was out, too, And my husband told him where to get free sandbags and how to use a cooler full of ice as a temporary fridge. He did not offer the couch. He did not have to defend it, the line held. We did go to a family cookout because life is not all scowls and ultimatums. There were paper plates and burgers and that one salad nobody eats, and the backyard full of cousins who are sticky and happy because sugar is sugar. Mill tried to muster a scene out of habit and found out the audience had moved on. She started in with her "we're all so cold now" speech, and my husband handed her a water and said, "We're fine." Different doesn't mean worse. I watched him put his arm around his brother and show him the car seat installation like this was not all scorched earth. It felt so wildly normal I could have cried. I did later, quietly, on the stairs, after the kids were asleep. Not the old choking crying. Just relief leaking out because there's nowhere for it to go otherwise. He remembered our anniversary. That sounds small. It was not small for us. He didn't go big. He didn't buy something to make it a gesture. He made dinner. He wrote me a card in his ugly capital letters with the sentence I'm going to tuck behind a picture frame and forget about until I need it. "I choose you, even when it costs me." He didn't say forever. He didn't promise things he can't control. He put a plate of pasta down and kissed the top of my head while a child asked from the bathroom if rabbits can sneeze. Real life has no soundtrack and I am grateful. I still have the folder with apartments. I moved it from the top of my bookmarks to its own little subfolder called Contingency, where the things you keep because you're smart and not because you're scared live. I still have a copy of the papers in a drawer. I still have my own bank account. I still have the muscle memory of leaving if I need to. I also bought a rug for the living room and it is petty proof because I love it so much. The baby will be here in the fall. We will go meet them with a casserole and a car seat mirror and leave when it's time to leave. My house will still be my house when I lock my door that night. My blood pressure will still behave. My husband will still climb into our bed and steal the blanket like a gremlin. I will probably poke him in the ribs and he will probably pretend to be offended. We are not a miracle. We are two people who decided not to burn down what we built. We had the matches in our hands. We put them down.